And the fact that he walked around fight week with no top on, I was like, please put a top on, Jake Paul. I'm not saying you're in bad shape or anything like that. You're not. But why can't you wear a t-shirt? Time Miller, bought a-hole here. I've lost my voice pretty much. You can probably hear. So I'm like, oh, what's going on? And I feel like I've been hit by a bus because we had a weekend of wrestling. And my word, it was very, very intense, but it's all good. We'll do an update on that as of when I get some footage. But you all know what went down the last 24 hours. If you're like me, you can't help but be sucked in by it, even though in many ways it's the worst thing ever, but in many ways it's the best thing ever because it's a freak show. Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley in boxing. Now, I get it. We've done videos about this before. I like MMA, I like UFC, I like boxing, and so on and so forth. So when I have some thoughts about it, I just want to air them out there. And I totally understand the negativity towards this, mostly because of Jake Paul. Now, I find Jake Paul a fascinating character because you do just want to punch him in the face, but that's why it works as well as it does, because in this instance, we all become Tyron Woodley and we're like, please punch him in the face, please punch him in the face, which he did in round 4 or whatever it was. We'll talk about that in just 1 second. So this is what I want to sort of break it back down to today, in that the reason this is working so well is because we'll call it YouTuber boxing, for lack of a better term. Although I do think you have to give Jake Paul some credit. He's clearly putting in the time when it comes to training. I mean, it doesn't make you a good boxer, but, you know, he's doing the hard work, I suppose, which, again, I think credit where credit is due. But what they are doing superbly, maybe better than boxing as a whole, and maybe oddly better than professional wrestling, is creating this bed for nonsense to sort of come from it, which we then all buy into. And apparently it did crazy pay-per-views, and so did Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather a few months ago. So it's not like, you know, it's not clicking. But it was the aftermath that really got me. If you haven't seen the aftermath, I'll try and sneak a clip in here now.
Hey, look, of course he wants the payday. You know, of course you want the payday. You had
the fight. I don't want the payday. I want to fight.
Hey, you old news, fam.
You had your chance.
Sorry.
Logan.
You had your chance. If you get the tattoo, I love Jake Paul, let's run it back.
Bet.
You just never know with YouTube because, you know, they get mad about all this stuff and you get copyright claimed. But I mean, from that clip, what do we learn? If you've watched Raw, SmackDown, especially WWE stuff, so I should say it's more WWE than pro wrestling, but whatever, we've done it. It's sports entertainment. Jake Paul and Logan Paul, who stood right behind him, so there's your tag team, there's your group, there's your faction, say they're not going to do the rematch. Tyron Woodley then demands his rematch. Jake Paul then adds a stipulation to the affair, which is, well, if you get a tattoo that says, I love Jake Paul, we'll do the rematch. Tyron Woodley agrees. It feels like they're about to do it, and then we don't do it for obvious reasons, and we'll probably never do it again. Now, the stupid thing about this is if you watched all the pre-interview stuff, so the pre-fight interview stuff, it was made perfectly clear that there was already a rematch clause in the contract. Now, maybe that's just if Jake Paul lost, as opposed to where Tyron Woodley had lost.
But this is the beginning of your boxing career.
I don't think he's gonna want a rematch. But he put it in there, so I'll honor it.
Did you put it in there?
Oh, me, I didn't.
But I'm pretty sure we're all being worked here, which of course ties directly into the fight itself. I don't even know what to make of it because I think it was the 4th round. Forgive me if I'm wrong. Tyron Woodley tagged Jake Paul, and it was the sort of biggest shot, apart from that one that Floyd Mayweather gave Logan Paul. Always get them confused. Aside from that one, it's the hardest I have seen either of the Paul brothers hit. Now, that's no surprise because Ben Askren, bless that man, just wanted to make $500,000 and he went home. So good for him. Whereas I do believe Tyron Woodley, well, he was taking it more seriously from a training aspect, but he didn't really follow up on it. Now, a lot of people tie this into Tyron Woodley's UFC career, where they said the last few years when maybe he wasn't at his peak, that's a thing he struggled with. He didn't capitalize on fights as much as he should have done. I can see where they're coming from. But given what happened in the Logan Paul fight, Floyd Mayweather, and given what's happened here, you do have to start questioning what exactly are we seeing. Now, I don't know. I think it must be almost impossible to try and rig a boxing match for the very reason, I mean, if you get punched in the face that hard, you have to hope you're not going to go down, but that is not how the human brain works. If somebody even is going to throw a light punch at you, if it hits you at the right angle, at the wrong time, or you're not ready for it, whatever it may be, it can knock you down to the ground. And if the storytelling for this, the purpose of this fight was Jake Paul has to get to the end of the 8th rounds to prove that he can win on points or whatever, I mean, I don't know. I'm just completely speculating here, but I think it'd be very hard to try and pull off without there being some hitches along the way. But I usually, when these kind of conspiracy theories comes out on the internet, I'm like, there's no way, it's not true, it's absolute baloney. But watching this one and reading what some people are saying, I'm like, I kind of find it hard to say 100%. I don't think that it may just be a massive work, which is also like professional wrestling. And Jake Paul is a terrific heel. If you're not into the world of pro wrestling, that just means bad guy. He riles you up. He's a villain that you want to see get beat. But he also has these shades of grey because he apparently, I think this is true, I think it's been, you know, widely reported, he took less money on his back end so he could pay the fighters even more, which of course then ties into another feud that he's having with Dana White, owner, president, whatever the hell his title is of UFC, as he's telling him you need to pay your fighters more. Now that's a very nice thing to do. That's a very welcoming thing to do. I'm sure if you are a boxer or a fighter, you're almost championing this because yes, UFC fighters and boxers, blah, 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 and wrestlers too, should be being paid more money, but they're not because of course they're at the whims of a promoter. So you like what he's doing on one end, but on the other end, you're like, you're a son of a gun. And the fact that he walked around fight week with no top on, I was like, please put a top on, Jake Paul. I'm not saying you're in bad shape or anything like that. You're not, but why can't you wear a t-shirt? I don't understand. Are you allergic to the fabric? Do you not like cotton? Are you not into polyester? It doesn't make any sense, but I suppose he did it again because he just wanted to be the biggest prick that he possibly could do, and he achieved that. People always say to me, like, oh, Miller, when I do these videos, Miller, do you think he win? Do you think he didn't win? I mean, I don't really have an answer for you. He won by split decision on the scorecard, so it was 2-1 judges, and Tyron Woodley was like, no, there's no way that's true. Was it really a boxing match? No. Did we really, a boxing fight, I should say, did we really see much of anything apart from that sort of big tag? I suppose a little bit. And I do think both guys put in the work. I'm not trying to poo-poo that. It's just, to me, I think the story starts, as I say, on the pro wrestling side. What do we want to get out of this? And then I'm trying to figure out how much of everything else I'm seeing is legit. And I don't know what the answer is. And I may never know what the answer is because that's the point. I mean, Jake Paul even made it out like he may be taking some time off now because he has been quite consistent at this over the last 18 months. And I don't know how I feel about the, I can't remember his name now, Tyson, other Tyson, not Tyson Fury, his brother. I can't remember, that Fury guy. I watched him take on the other guy, Anthony something or other. You can see how much I was into these other fights. And he stopped him in 4 rounds, or maybe it wasn't even that much. I was just like, okay, I suppose you could do it if you G up enough interest. I mean, the drawing card is Jake Paul, so I suppose it would be good for other Fury. Why can't I remember his name? 'Cause I'm so damn tired. It would be good for his spotlight and highlighting him, so I understand that. But you really want him to go in there with like a Canelo. And look, I'm not saying that as a joke. Jake Paul has brought that up. He wants to fight Canelo. I honestly would put £100,000. I don't have £100,000, but I'd put as much money as I could that Canelo wins that fight in 30 seconds. He'd absolutely murder him. And the other freak show aspect to this, which again, pro wrestling, I can't remember the height differences now, but I didn't realize until I saw them dead on that Jake Paul is so much taller than Tyron Woodley. And I think weight-wise, it's only the difference of a couple of pounds, but the whole thing, when you just look at it, you're like, I'm loving it and I'm enjoying it for all the wrong reasons. Don't get me wrong. I understand all the criticisms, but it is an absolute farce. It is an absolute farce, but I had a great time. So, yeah, who the hell knows who's next? Maybe it is Fury. Maybe it's, I can't even think of who else. I'm trying to think of sort of, I don't like the term washed up. I think that's a horrible term, but I can't think of any more retired UFC fighters that you could probably do this with. You do it with Bisping. I think he probably destroys. Yeah, that's a different kettle of fish. I think he's a lot bigger than Jake Paul, although I don't know. GSP would never do it. I mean, maybe a Chuck Liddell or a Tito Ortiz, but they don't really feel like current names. I don't know. But I would love to see him go in there against. My favorite thing actually about the card was that Dubois was back and he knocked a dude out in about 40 seconds. And I always felt bad for Dubois after he screwed up his eye and he took the knee to say, I don't want to carry on. I thought he got a lot of harsh criticism for that because I think most of us would have done it. If your eye was that bad, it's going to be screwed up. I think sometimes you got to fight for another day. And I thought it was kind of unfair how he was dragged through the mud on that one. If anyone that has the absolute cojones and the balls to step in the ring, to me, straight away, I'm like, do whatever you want. You know your body. You are literally putting your life on the line, so I'm not going to complain. But yes, Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley. Am I a moron for wanting to watch it? I totally agree with you. Of course I am. And you can go nuts in the comments and say, Simon, you're part of the problem. But I am. But again, it's a freak show. And for me, maybe the luster has run out a little bit now, but I genuinely thought that Tyron Woodley was going to knock him out, and I wanted to see it. So I'm a terrible, terrible human being, and now you know. Now, please do leave a comment below, and honestly, let me know what you think about this. Do you think it's real? Do you think it's not real? Do you like Tyron Woodley, Jake Paul? Maybe you're a Jake Paul fan. I'd love to hear from you the most because, well, we don't really hear from you. Then hit the bell ding ding so you know when other videos are going live. My voice is actually about to go. Another video on the screen. Please do give it a click. Patreon.com/Simon316 if you want to support me that way and come join our weekly Q&As and other stuff that we do for the community over there. Twitter @Simon316. Same with Instagram. BigCartel.com. SimonMiller.BigCartel.com for merchandise. I'm on Cameo if you want a cameo. Going to do a bunch of those today as well. In Greg Doucette's new cookbook. Check out the link below. But otherwise, thank you for joining me. I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts, and I'll see you on the next one.